Hello readers, this is Justin's 52 Books where I am going through the 52 Book Club's 2022 Reading Challenge. One book a week for the span of a year. You can check them out online at the52bookclub.com. This is week 3, and I am going to be doing prompt number 8, a book involving the art world. The art world in question with this book is the film industry or cinema or whatever you want to call it. And the book in this case is Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and The Making of a Masterpiece by Michael Benson. Tidbit of information if you're looking for this book, specifically this author, there are a lot of Michael Bensons out there, and for a little bit before I started reading this book, I thought it was the same Michael Benson who wrote, as I found online, The United Nations Conspiracy to Destroy America. This is not that author. Different topic. The prompt is a book involving the art world, and film is definitely art, and that is the reasoning. I actually was reading this in December 2021 into this year, and I thought it would be a great fit for this prompt, so I chose it. Written in 2018, the book is obviously about the filming of the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was great for me to learn about because I had seen the movie once a long time ago, and I honestly didn't like it, didn't get it, and like many people, and I hadn't revisited it until now. Difference being is this time I did it right, not only with reading this book, Space Odyssey, but reading 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. I read that in fall, gearing up to read this and gearing up to watch the movie, and it's kind of ridiculous to me to put this much effort into learning how to like a movie, but going through all that certainly was worth it and brought me to the other side where I truly do like it and get it and understand what's going on when I watch that movie. And I would say that appreciation is only added to with reading Space Odyssey by Michael Benson. It gives real context on, like any book about a movie, it gives great context about how the movie was made and all the challenges and the personalities involved and issues with the studio and creative differences of what do we do. But it's such a gonzo way to make a movie, and Kubrick was such a gonzo person to work with apparently that it bears discussion and is certainly interesting. Reading, or rather listening, because I listened to the audiobook of Space Odyssey, reading it, I gathered that my first reaction to that movie wasn't singular. Critics at the time that movie came out made fun of it viciously and didn't care for it. And I guess that's kind of an item that I would like to highlight in this discussion, which is to talk about having your mind changed about a work of art or a book or a film or whatever. The book mentions at length, and so much so that I had to look it up myself, a reviewer named Joseph Gelmus from Newsday in 1968 when the movie came out, writing one critique of the movie where he panned it, and then 2 weeks later revisiting that, and then a week later revisiting that as well. And I was so intrigued by that I actually looked up the original articles that Gelmus had written. And hey, I don't really do this very often, but I'm going to read them to discuss what it's like to have your mind changed in public. So this is from Newsday, April 4th, 1968, Space Odyssey fails most gloriously. Filmmaker Stanley Kubrick's brilliance and egotism have goaded him into trying to surpass the originality, audacity, and prophecies of his Dr. Strangelove. His immense talent and vaulting conceit have produced, in 2001: A Space Odyssey, one of the most bizarre movies ever made. He goes on, by conventional standards of drama, this new film is, I suppose, glorious failure. He then talks about the movie a little bit and, does some real critiquing. He goes on, it moves at a slow, smug pace. It is patronizingly pedantic in some of its earnest history lessons. And while it dazzles the eye, it offends the ear with one of the worst soundtracks ever made. And then he finishes his first review with this: the film jumps erratically. The episodes aren't structured logically until the very last moments of the film. It is a mistake. Instead of suspense, there is surprise and confusion, and for many, resentment. So that's parts of Gelmis's first review of 2001: A Space Odyssey, published on April 4th, 1968. April 20th, 1968 sees the release of a second review entitled Another Look at Space Odyssey. He starts his article out with, about 100 years ago, Moby Dick was eloquently damned and devastatingly dismissed by one of Britain's most influential and erudite literary critics. He argued persuasively that the book was a preposterous grab bag. He ridiculed its self-indulgent lyricism, the poetic mysticism. He said it was an unconditional failure because it didn't follow the accepted canons of how a 19th century novel should be written. He was impeccably correct. Yet, today there are perhaps a half dozen scholars who can recall the critic's name while every college freshman knows the name. Gelmis goes on. I went back to see the film again anyway. I suspected the critical overkill was a symptom of a nervous reaction not unlike the 19th century literary critic's hostility to a new form that threatened the assumptions of his expertise. After seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey a second time, I'm convinced it is a masterwork. Take it from one who mistrusts superlatives and who suspects that most critics who second-guess themselves are grandstanding. This awesome film is light years ahead of any science fiction you have ever seen and owes more to mystical visions of Jung and William Blake than to H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. I was fascinated by the idea of a critic from 1968 publicly writing out his basically changing of his mind. And I was ecstatic to have that same kind of mind change experience with myself. There are parts of the movie that still kind of poke at me, but I mean, if the prompt was to engage with something involving the world of art, that's what art is, something that tries to get an emotional response. Well, that movie certainly did. The book certainly did, and Michael Benson's book, Space Odyssey, helped me achieve an understanding of that emotional response, and I appreciate that. Bottom line, as far as 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke or by Stanley Kubrick, or even this book by Michael Benson is concerned, the old adage still applies. Read the book, see the movie, repeat. So that's it for week 3. Thank you for watching. Next week will be week 4 of the 52-week challenge. I'm going to be doing prompt number 48. Redo one of this year's prompts, but with a different genre. And there's a specific reason I'm doing that right after this one, because I'm going to be redoing this prompt with a different genre. So redoing a book involving the art world with a different genre. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing you. Check out the52bookclub.com online. You can check me out on Goodreads and Storygraph, Justin's 52 Books. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching, and happy reading. So that's how you do picture-in-picture, you dummy.